Good evening and welcome to 2018 with Environmental Coffee House and me, Sandra Chalice. And I'm very happy to be here and starting my second year of Environmental Coffee House, bringing you the difficult things to talk about. As my friend Dean Walker says, the impossible conversations that we have to have. Tonight, this night where we're having our snow hurricanes and snow bombs and the storms all over the East Coast in the United States, I want to bring you something to start with. I listened to an interview by Alex Smith, who is with Radio Ecoshock, and he is awesome. He is an amazing, amazing interviewer. So I'm going to start with this. This is not easy for the new year, for my first one. But I've got to do this. We have to understand what's happening. It's not getting any better. So Alex Smith, he interviewed David Wasdell of the Apollo-Gaia Project on December 22nd. 7th. It was 7th. I'm sorry. Forgive me. And Alex says, David came back with devastating revelations about how climate science has been manipulated or ignored by the IPCC and by the leaders meeting in Paris. We are committed to far more than 2 degrees of warming. A vastly changed world awaits. So you really have to listen to this interview. I'm just going to give you a couple of things from this. Alex says, are you ready for the harsh reality of our future in a hotter world? Can any of us handle the truth? Can we really, any of us handle the truth? If you feel strong enough, this may be the most devastating look into where we can really stand, which is the interview that Alex is talking about. So he goes on to talk about this writer, Mark Linus, who stunned us with the awful changes on Earth if we warm by 5 degrees centigrade. We may not survive 6, Alex says. Many hope that the climate talks in Paris can reach an agreement that will save a livable climate and keep global warming below 2 degrees centigrade. But what if the national leaders are just players on a stage of illusion? What if someone told you our current levels of greenhouse gases already commit us to more than 6 degrees of global warming and over 12 meters, over 36 feet higher sea levels, and that might not be the worst of it. Happy New Year. So Alex asked David a few questions. And I thought, let's really deal with this in the beginning of the year. And let's go by these questions. Alex started asking a couple of questions, and he just put them in a PDF, which I grabbed because you're going to have to listen to the whole interview. He asked David to answer these questions with like a very quick one word answer. Okay. Number 1, yes or no questions. World leaders meet in Paris to reach an agreement to keep the world safe from dangerous climate change, even if they agree to all of the voluntary goals set by each country. Will that be enough to keep climate change below 2 degrees centigrade of warming? Absolutely not, Bob says. Do we still have a comfortable margin of carbon we can burn and still avoid catastrophic climate change? Absolutely not. No. We have overshot that boundary by a massive amount. You know what he's talking about? He's talking about that comfortable margin of carbon that we all say, we can just keep, well, we don't say it, but A lot of people just say we could just keep burning and burning and burning. Have leading scientists modified science for politicians because the harsh realities of what we need to do are unrealistic? And he says, sadly, that is correct. 4, is it true that the United Nations projections of climate change, including those from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, routinely leave out important warming forces? That is true. 5, is it conceivable, even possible, that we are setting the planet Earth on a path toward heating of 8 degrees or more centigrade, or say 16 degrees Fahrenheit hotter in the next 100 or 200 years? And David says that is exactly where we are headed. And the last question, if we don't wake up and act, can this generation ruin the earth for humanity and other species for thousands of years? Guess what the answer was for that. And that's going to have me segue into something else. And I'm going to read this too. It's a quote, and it's from the UTE tribe in the it was in North America. Their rule of life: with every decision, think 7 generations ahead of the consequences of your actions. Do you guys think that we think any generations ahead on a daily basis? How can we think ahead when we have scientists like Paul Beckwith who are screaming that we have to say that we've got a climate or a global climate emergency, that we have to declare a global climate emergency? Things are serious. But are we thinking ahead? No. No. What are we doing? We are in a state of what's called, in this country, in the United States, regulatory capture. Now that, we all know what that is. That is when the industry is regulated, right? By the industry, they are supposed to regulate. So who runs the show? We know the corrupt nature of our government. Who runs the show? The fossil fuel industry? Sure it does. They get paid to do that by the government. They get subsidies, unbelievable subsidies, and they're going to continue to. Tell you guys, we have a lot of work to do. We do. Because what we're doing is, in this country, and I say we because we're all in this together, no matter what we feel, we're all in this together. Short-term gains for our economy are really going to hurt. And it's going to be really bad and lead to long-term losses for humans. So all of these short-term gains that we are making in the economy in the United States that we hear supposedly, and the stock market and all those things, what is going to happen? Dr. Wadhams is not so optimistic, but he is not so pessimistic that he does not hold out some solutions. And I think you really need to listen to Radio Ecoshock's interview with him. And it is on Environmental Coffee House because I did put it on there. Thank you for joining me. I see that Gary says, tonight, you're dealing with a blizzard in Long Island. Oh my gosh, yes, the blizzard. Brought to you by the polar vortex that has exploded in the, and come right down to us because it's warmer up there. It is what's going on, right? We have to live with these things. It's going to be different. And when I say it's going to be different, just get used to this. We're going to hit, I think, more than 2 degrees Celsius and more than 400 parts per million. Carbon, We don't have the carbon sinks. We don't have carbon capture technology out there. We're not changing our behaviors. In fact, in one of the books I have called Unprecedented Climate Mobilization, which is actually a really good book, I want to know if you feel like this about us. And it's about the feeling that we're concerned, we're deeply concerned citizens. And while we are doing our best to reduce our own carbon footprints, we feel powerless to transform the energy infrastructure that threatens civilization. We as citizens face a systemic threat. It's made up of three parts. All individuals who by consumption drive the production of fossil fuels. And that's every single one of us at this point. Maybe not Andy Gardner, who lives in Britain, in the UK, who just rides a bicycle. And maybe there's a lot of people, but there are many like me that have no choice. The petroleum and automotive industries, which profit most from this production. So we have number one, the three parts. The individuals who by consumption drive the production of fossil fuels. Number two, the petroleum and automotive industries, which profit most from this production. And number three, governments whose states prosper when their economies based on energy are booming. Actually, this book is a solutions book, and it talks about civil disobedience. It's another awesome reference. It really is. So it just expresses the frustration that we have, at least that I do, that I cannot say tomorrow, oh, gee, I live in rural America and I need an electric station to plug in my car. I wish I had this choice a long time ago. I wish that I had da-da-da-da-da-da-da, but we don't. We're frustrated. We go to climate marches. We don't see anything change. We see that it's just getting worse. But there are solutions. And we're going to have to talk to everybody we can this year, 2018 coming up, about these solutions, about where we go forward, about the 2018 elections in the United States that could usher in a new era of progressives that think about these things realistically. Let's hope. Because in this day and age, when Anchorage, Alaska is warmer than Jacksonville, Florida, Houston, we got a problem. And we don't have liftoff. Although we did have liftoff of SpaceX. Elon Musk, the whiz guy, brings electricity by our sun to places in, well, all over the world. He brought it to Puerto Rico and he brought it to Australia. So here we are. It is 2018. And these are the things we have to deal with. I was going to go in a little bit before I leave because there is, to segue into the things that happened last year. And I'm just bringing you little things from these articles because they're so good and they're all on our page. High Country News had an article called 16 Major Environmental Protections Cut in 2017. And these 16, I'm not going to read you everything in the article, but the 16 are monuments, Arctic refuge, clean water rule, fossil fuel royalties rule, Bureau of Land Management methane rule, EPA methane rule, the National Environmental Policy Act reviews, federal coal, national parks management, power plants, pipelines, cleaner cars, offshore drilling. We're going to do a lot more of that. Blowout prevention rule. Social cost of carbon. Floods and infrastructure. 16 things that were put into place. 16 protections that were actually sensible. Gone, goodbye. That was interesting. And then I came upon another one that I liked and I thought I would bring to you. President Trump's 5 biggest energy blunders in 2017. And this article is in Technology Review. Pretty decent little newsletter. And they start with, has it only been 11 months? Which I thought was pretty funny. So they start out and they're talking about the things that he said. And specifically, he put on the White House website about an American First energy policy plan. He wanted to get that approved. And we're going to boost domestic energy exploration and production, and we're going to cut climate-related and environmental rules because basically we want everyone to hit the wall as a species and be gone so that we can have our luxuries right now. We are not thinking about the 7 generations. Here's the 5. Forsaking global leadership. Talked about withdrawing from Paris, which is a symbolic feel-good thing. We're never really going to meet those goals. I don't know if the countries are going to meet those goals. There are, this year, it's 2018, they now have to solidify the requirements. That's this year. By the end of 2018, I believe. And then they go on to propping up coal. And they talked about Rick Perry's notice of proposed rulemaking that would essentially subsidize power plants that can stockpile more than 90 days worth of fuel on site, nuclear and coal. It makes sense, doesn't it? Doesn't it all just make sense if you're in that administration's head? Because they don't think of the future. And they will make sure that what Dr. David Wadhams says comes true. Vehicle mileage standards. So as nations like China, France, and Britain take steps to outlaw combustion engine vehicles altogether in the decades ahead, the Trump administration's trying to roll back fuel economy standards. I can't even go further. The next one is the Clean Power Plan. We heard a lot about it. We published a lot about it. Scott Pruitt sued the Environmental Protection Agency when he was Oklahoma's Attorney General to block the Clean Power Plan. So, of course, we have him. We're stuck with that little person. Also, defunding energy research. That's it. Defunding them. Their final fiscal 2018 budget proposal has slashed research funding for the Department of Energy by more than $3 billion and eliminated the Advanced Research Projects Agency, Energy, the department's Moonshot Energy Investment Program. There's a lot of things that they're getting rid of that they don't want to fund that all have to do with our environment. So what doesn't that tell you? We have the work to do. I can't stop saying it. We got to fight because we can't just sit back and do nothing. We could watch everything go by and just be complacent and, go to the gas pump and forget all about the fact that that gas came from somewhere that probably polluted someone's well in Pennsylvania so that we could go to the freaking store or so that somebody could deliver something from Amazon to us. Bottom line is, and this may sound crazy, capitalism is really ringing in the death knell of humanity. But what do we do to fight? First thing I say is get money out of politics in the United States. We have to get money out of politics here if we're gonna do anything. If we don't get it out, don't get rid of Citizens United, we're done that way because the rich, big shots, politicians have all the money, and all of the people that I am going to interview in the upcoming next month. I've got 4 different people running for office in different states, and we are interviewing them under the umbrella of the Off Fossil Fuel Act for a Better Future. So that should be good. That's going to be good. Those are the things we're going to do. Educate. And all of you read our things. Go to the links that we provide. Learn as much as you can. And actually, as much as you can about climate science. It is so important to understand what is going on between all of the feedbacks, the jet stream, global dimming, all of those things I've talked about before. It is so important for all of us to understand some scientific facts. In fact, I had a meme that said, let's learn a scientific fact every single day for the next 365, because there are endless scientific facts that we can learn. I think that's a good one too. What is this turning into my New Year's resolutions for the page? Well, it's not funny though. When I listened to that interview, it was sobering. That is a word that I have. David Wasdell is amazing. I think I might have said the other guy's name before. I'm sorry, Wadhams. That's another scientist, a climate scientist. I mixed them both up. David Wasdell. Amazing. Scary. Truthful. So now that I've said my piece, let's do a couple of comments from everybody that's with us. And I'll say hi. Oh, yes. Patrick says, equilibrium. Hi, Patrick. Equilibrium. As you all might remember, just last week, I interviewed Patrick. And he talked about OMTech. Got to go back and watch it. Heidi. Hi, Heidi. She says, I'm still sending out invites. Oh, really? How the illegitimate oligarch 45 wants to open both coasts up to oil and drilling. It's outrageous. Yes, it is outrageous. It is outrageous. But you see, it's no more outrageous than every other thing that has been done in the last year, is it? No. Too much hysteria. What is it? Wait, I have to put up what Patrick put because it looked funny. Where are you, Patrick? I can't find it. Too much hysteresis? No, I'm not. Is that, you mean hysterical? No, this is reality. This is reality. I have equilibrium every day. But you know, you have to work hard for that. You have to work hard for your self-peace. I'm happy every day. I've made up my mind to be that way, regardless of everything that happens. Mindy says, call your congressman and demand changes now. Absolutely. We all have to keep doing that. I think I've been on the congressman phone registry for the whole year. Well, probably longer before when Bernie was running. These are all things that we can do. Jean, you're having some problem tonight? I'm sorry. She's having problems with the connection. Could be the weather. Hey, Doug. Doug says, the solution is to get rid of the killer greed that controls this world. Yes, the killer greed. That is probably getting rid of capitalism. Let's put in a resource-based economy. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't Jacques Fresco like to see that? I don't know. Just work every day on something. Every day. And hi, Brian. Brian says, money rules. It talks fossil fuels are guaranteed to make money. Of course. Yes. They're guaranteed to make money because they're the only thing we have. I mean, here's me. I have wood to heat my house. It's been pretty cold here, minus 12, all those kinds of, really crazy wind chills. But they're not just wind chills. They are minus, I think we went down to -5. Well, we heat our house with propane. We don't have any kind of lines going through our ground or anything like that. We have a well. We're rural. We have a lot of firewood. But we do use electric heaters. And I will tell you why. Every year, my local energy municipality sends a breakdown of where we get our energy. We are 87% powered by hydropower that comes down from Niagara Falls. It's pretty good. It's a very small percent gas and nuclear, but then the thing that I don't like is the smallest percent here is solar and wind. So that's something we've got to change locally, and we can. And we can. We have to make it attractive for homeowners in our area, like me, to get solar, which we are planning. Going to implement it. It's going to happen this year. And whatever I have to do, I will do it. And Mindy, oh my goodness, where are we? You know what? Sometimes I lose these things. Capitalism is killing us. I think that's really the underlying thing here. Starting with the interview with that Alex Smith did, even though it's all about what's happening with our climate and what's happening with CO2 and what's happening all over the world, it all leads to the Industrial Revolution, the capitalistic industrial revolution, and on and on and on. And we have just done it. And we knew in the 80s, but we didn't do anything, not much. And when we do something now, it gets reversed. So there we go. The things for the year. And I really do want to read this one more time. With every decision, think 7 generations ahead of the consequence of your action. Have we done that? So I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you for coming. I think a lot of people have joined now. You'll have to go back to the beginning. It was a pretty good live stream on an interview that is on Radio Ecoshock. So you have to go to Radio Ecoshock. Alex Smith is the best interviewer. Go and listen to his interviews, especially this one I was talking about. And I hope that all of you are staying warm that are with us. And stay with us this year because we have upcoming great interviews. And that's what I'm going to focus on is interviews and a few of these. And we are growing too. I might as well throw in that the website is almost ready, but it's not. So we're not going to talk about it yet. Oh, Heidi invited a lot of people right when I'm going to go off. Thank you, Heidi. It's just, we've been on a while and I've said what I had to say, and I want to wish everybody a productive new year. Whether it's happy for you or not, may it be productive. Peace, guys. Good night.